brought to you by Chase. I got Tim Bontemps, Dan Graziano here talking football and basketball. So, Cindy, let's get to it and get up with Kyrie Irving. The Nets guard decides to stay in Brooklyn. Why he had over 36 million reasons to opt in. And now that his old running mate is staying put, what does that mean for the King? And here's the question. How can the Lakers improve his court? And he's now a Super Bowl champ, but can he repeat the feat away from L.A.? What might Odell get back on the field, and is he the missing piece for a Super Bowl contender? Let us start with the big story of the day. Kyrie Irving telling The Athletic on Monday that he is opting into his $36.5 million option with the Brooklyn Nets for next season. Now, earlier today, we had Adrian Woj on, and here's what he had to say about Kyrie's decision.
He ran out of leverage to get the long-term deal that he wanted, either in a sign-and-trade scenario or with the Nets. And I think those are really the two rails he was playing. And the third thing, the threat of going to the Lakers on an opt-out at their $6 million exception. And so Kyrie Irving did not give up $30+ million for next season. So he opts back into his deal with Brooklyn, and now, of course, he could be a free agent after next season.
All right, so that's where things stand right now. Let's bring our guys back in. Zach Lowe, Seth Greenberg joining me, and Tim Bontemps here. So, Tim, Woj said it. He ran out of leverage. Maybe that $6 million thing was not going to work out, given all the money he would have left on the table. What does that mean for you in terms of where Kyrie is right now?
Well, right now it means he's on the Brooklyn Nets for next season. That's all that really matters, right? Obviously, we'll see what happens down the road with him, where things go. But for the Nets, this is what they wanted. They wanted Kyrie Irving on a short-term commitment in Brooklyn, which means Kevin Durant is in Brooklyn and happy, and this team is a championship-caliber team. The rest of it, all the noise around it, at the end of the day, the Nets have a championship caliber roster, and they still do because they have Kevin Durant on the team. And that was what all of the stuff about Kyrie Irving was about. Can they have Kevin Durant on the team and happy? And now they did it without having to give Kyrie Irving what he wanted, which was, as Adrian said, a long-term maximum contract extension.
So
instead, it's on a one-year deal. Now it's up to Kyrie to prove it.
So essentially, they played a game of chicken and they won.
That is exactly what happened here. This was a negotiation, a very expensive, high-stakes negotiation, where both sides were daring the other to give in, and Kyrie lost.
Wow. And so, Zach Lowe, what does winning now mean for the Nets? What does it look like for the Nets?
Yeah, the Nets won today. We'll see how long the win lasts and how long this continues. But yes, today they have Kyrie Irving on their team, which means they have Kevin Durant on their team. They still have Ben Simmons on their team. Yes, on paper, this team could do a lot of damage in the Eastern Conference. I just need to see it play out. And we'll go from there. But yeah, this is a win for the Nets. I still don't really understand why there couldn't be like a 2+1 compromise, a 2+1 deal like that. I thought that just made more sense for both sides. The Nets get a little more certainty that way. But this is where we are. This is a win, and now it's take 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, for the Nets to turn a theoretical team into a real team, because there are real teams at the top of the Eastern Conference who actually played together, have experience together, and so the Nets are now trying to catch up to them. We'll see, but I keep saying, yeah, on paper, Kyrie, KD, Ben Simmons, great fit. Ben doesn't have to create offense on the ball. He can be there, Draymond Green, all that. Okay, let's see it. Like, I'd like to see the team play first.
Okay, so that's where we stand now. And Seth, I wonder, what do Kyrie and KD need now? Because they've got championship hopes. It's championship or bust for this team in many ways. What do they need now?
They need to get Ben Simmons healthy and get Ben Simmons to be part of that big three. Everyone talks about having to have a big three. Well, you know what? They have a big three if Ben Simmons is healthy. You're going to see the best of Kyrie Irving this year. There's no doubt about it. Why? He'll play 70-plus games. Why? Because he wants a max deal. How do you get a max deal? You show that you're going to be available. You show that you're going to play at a high level. All right? He wants that. He didn't get it. He had no options. Now what they got to do is KD and Kyrie Irving have got to put their arms around Ben Simmons, not get him healthy, but hopefully he's healthy, and then include him. Because you cannot have a championship caliber team if your three best players, I don't care if it's high school, college, the NBA, any sport, if your best players aren't on the same page, you can't have championship DNA. So they've got to go and connect with Ben Simmons. If that means this summer, once a week or once every other week, go and spend time with Ben Simmons, they've all got to get on the same page. If they get on the same page and they are healthy, this is a very dangerous team. They probably need one more perimeter defender, I think. But besides that, this is a very, very dangerous team.
To Zach's point about the theoretical versus the actual with this team, to Zach's point about the theoretical versus the actual with this team, that graphic was amazing in that it said that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in 3 years together, including the playoffs, have played a combined 58 games together, right? Yeah. That, for all the stuff we've talked about with this team, they've played 58 games out of, 200 probably over that stretch together. These guys need to be on the court. That's what this is all about.
But is that all this is about? I mean, we talk about there needing to be a culture, they needing to be accountable to each other. Is it just as simple as they got to be on the court together and we see how it plays out?
Yes. I think it's that simple. Because, again, we can't even guarantee that that is going to happen, right? For everything that's been said about this Nets team, we can't guarantee these three guys are going to be on the court. We don't know what the situation with Ben Simmons' back is. We don't know what the situation is with Kyrie going forward. Like, this is where they've been. They've been the championship theoretical team since Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving got to Brooklyn. Now, with Kyrie on this one-year deal, looking to get a max deal next summer, after everything that's gone on, it's time for this team to actually be on the court and play. And if they do, we saw the one time these guys were sort of together on the court 2 years ago, they were this close to beating the Bucks in the second round, and they very well made it one on to win the championship. For everything else that's happened.
Yeah,
so yes, let's see if they're not going to actually be on the court.
Go ahead, Zach. Go ahead.
Well, you know what else happened in that same round of the playoffs is that Ben Simmons melted down because he was afraid to get fouled and go to the free throw line and hasn't played basketball in an NBA game since then, 14 months ago. Like, I just got to see it first. Who's the fifth guy in their lineup with Kyrie, Joe Harris, Ben, and KD? Is it a big guy? Is it a small guy? Is it Bruce Brown? Is Joe Harris? What kind of role does he have next year? How do they retool this roster? Because they do have some things to play with. I think the Nets are going to be busier in the next 4 or 5 days than people think they will be, trying to retool this team around these big three that we have never seen play together. And yeah, Kyrie opted in. He's now an expiring deal. I agree there are reasons for optimism that he's going to play 65, 70 games and play really well. I voted him All-NBA 2 seasons ago, so I guess count me as an optimist. But anybody in an expiring deal is in an expiring deal. You got 1 year to make it work. Drama is always possible. We'll see what happens.
I feel like drama is probable with this team.
I would say definite, not probable. It's just a matter of how much.
It's probable, but it's in its best interest not to be probable. The most important thing is Ben Simmons is healthy. If Ben Simmons is healthy and there's a standard and accountability amongst those three guys, there's got to be a standard and accountability. That starts up top with general manager, coaching staff, and everyone else. If there's an accountability and you have those three guys healthy, you have a chance to have a special team. They need a little front court help in terms of rim protection, and they probably need a perimeter defender. But the pieces are there. But there's got to be an accountability and the standard of expectation of how we're going to carry ourselves each and every day. And I don't think the Nets have had that. That's a big part of creating a winning culture.
Yeah, all that being said, it still comes back to the fact they just haven't been on the court.
No, but do you think they have that winning culture, though? Because I think Seth has a really good point here. There are so many good teams in the East.
You can't have a winning culture if you're not on the court.
Okay.
That's what this comes down to.
So you're saying that's step one.
Yes, step one is, to Zach's point, Ben Simmons hasn't played in 14 months. Kyrie Irving, we didn't know where he was going to be 24 hours ago. We're still not exactly sure, but for now he's in net and he's signed for next year, right? Let's see them actually be on the court. They played 58 games in 3 seasons. It's 19 games a season, including the playoffs. That's no games at all. So let's see if they can be on the court for 60 games this season. That's the first step before you get to any of this other stuff about having structure and culture and everything else. Just actually be on the court playing basketball.
It's a great point. I love this graphic, by the way. Keep this up for just a second. That graphic that just came up about the notable Nets players. And Zach, you look at this, Ben Simmons, Kyrie, KD, Joe Harris, Seth Curry, each hitting 44% on threes. I mean, this to me, like you say, on paper, looks like a team that should win the title. Is that the ceiling? I know you're saying it's not an actual squad yet, but are we looking at a title winner if these things come together?
So Giannis Antetokounmpo just heard you say that team looks like a team that should win the title, and looked at his TV screen and was like, oh, really? That team should win the title over us? Jason Tatum just looked at that screen and was like, they're going to win the East over us? The Warriors, Draymond Green, you better hope Draymond Green didn't hear you say that because he might come after you on Twitter. Like, that team should win the title? Should? Maybe. Like, I think that's a great lineup. If you put shooting around Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, and Kyrie Irving with Seth Curry and Joe Harris is like two of the best shooters in the world, yeah, that lineup is going to be unstoppable. You're not going to be able to guard that lineup. Is it going to be able to guard the other best lineups in the NBA? Will it even matter? Will they just be so good offensively that it doesn't matter? I mean, we'll see. But I just can't anoint them like that. By the way, are we sure that they're going to have all those guys on the team next year in terms of Curry and Harris? I think it's going to be interesting to see what the team actually looks like next year.
In terms of ceiling, could